My story. Prepare landing sequence. Lexura instructed her AI companion, Xylo, who promptly complied with a series of beeps and whirs. Are you sure about this, Lexura? Xylo's voice resonated throughout the ship. The council has mandated observation, no personal involvement. Lexura rolled her eyes. I know, Xylo. But what if there's more to humanity than what they've dictated? Their history is filled with conflict, yet they possess creativity and innovation in equal measure. Engaging landing procedures, Xylo replied, ignoring her philosophical musings. As the ship sliced through the atmosphere, Lexura marveled at the swirls of clouds merging into vibrant landscapes. Minutes later, she set the craft down in a secluded valley skirted by tall trees. The scent of fertile earth flowed into the cabin as the hatch opened. Stepping outside, she felt the cool air wrap around her, invigorating senses she forgot she had. Walking a few paces away, she pulled out her data pad and activated it. Information streamed in, fragments of the language, culture, and technology of humanity popping up before her eyes. Fascinating, she murmured. But I need first-hand experience. As she made her way down a path that led to a nearby city, Lexura noticed a commotion ahead. Curious pedestrians gathered around a makeshift display. Rushing forward, she caught sight of a group of engineers demonstrating an unusual contraption. The machine appeared cobbled together from different components, creating a ramshackle yet intriguing invention. Come on, folks. This here's the future, a voice called. The crowd erupted in laughter. Lexura's eyes zeroed in on the speaker. He had tousled brown hair, a warm smile, and a glint of enthusiasm that was contagious. Jake, just give it a try already, a tall woman in the crowd shouted, rolling her eyes. Oh, please, Jake replied, his laughter brightening the atmosphere. What could possibly go wrong? The moment he turned and met her gaze, Lexura felt her heart constrict. There was a charm about him that felt magnetic. She quickly redirected her focus, knowing she had a mission. She approached the group, taking in the exchange. Excuse me, she interjected, her voice carrying a curious lilt. What is this machine supposed to do? Jake turned toward her, tilting his head. This is a prototype for a personal transportation device. You wouldn't believe how much time it saves. Lexura's brow furrowed, though she struggled to suppress a smile. It looks unconventional. Unconventional is the name of the game, Jake replied, now clearly enjoying the banter. And it's about to make history. Step back, everyone. The crowd shifted, excitement radiating in waves as Jake pressed a button on a controller. The machine sputtered, then jolted forward, sending the crowd into a frenzy. Screams of surprise filled the air, and Lexura couldn't help but laugh, her scientific instincts mingling with genuine amusement. Well, that didn't go as planned, Jake said, scratching his head sheepishly, though a smile danced on his lips. The crowd began to disperse, some still chuckling while others offered constructive critiques. Lexura approached Jake, intrigued. You know, while it may not have worked perfectly, your enthusiasm is commendable. Thanks. I'm Jake, he said, extending his hand. Lexura. She shook his hand firmly, feeling an unexpected surge of warmth. Are you from around here? He asked, curiosity painting his features. Not exactly, Lexura replied, choosing her words carefully. I'm visiting for research purposes. Ah, a student then. What are you studying? Jake leaned closer, his eyes sparkling with interest. Human behavior and technology, she responded, trying to gauge his reaction. I'm fascinated by how you all interact with your environment. Excellent. So you're here to study the chaos? He joked, still grinning. Chaos can lead to creativity, she countered, matching his tone. Tell me more about your project. Jake's eyes lit up. It's a work in progress for sure. The mechanics are simple, but it's the human factor that complicates everything. They continued their back and forth, the laughter coming easily and their intense focus on one another growing warmer. As she listened to him explain his ideas, Lexura felt herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected. What about you? What do Zephyrians do for fun? He asked. Mostly observe and analyze, she admitted, surprising herself with the honesty. But I do enjoy trying new things. Try new things? He raised an eyebrow. You mean like eating strange snacks or roller coaster rides? Perhaps, Lexura replied, her tone playful. Or maybe even wild machines? Now that would be a sight, he laughed. You should totally join us for lunch. I can introduce you to some local flavors. I may not be prepared for traditional cuisine, Lexura said, imagining peculiar options sprinkled throughout Earth's menus. Jake shrugged, then stifled a laugh. How bad could it be? I promise it won't explode. With a smile, Lexra agreed, both apprehensive and excited. They walked together, discussing everything from engineering marvels to curious Earth traditions. By the time they reached the small cafe, Lexra realized something unexpected. She genuinely admired Jake. His laughter, his quirks, the way he spoke animatedly about his dreams. As they sank into a cozy booth, with plates of local delicacies between them, she felt her research slipping away, replaced instead with anticipation. The mission had turned into something far more enriching, an unexpected connection with a man who saw the world alike yet unlike herself. The air buzzed with playful curiosity as she took a bite of an unfamiliar dish, ready to embrace whatever new experiences awaited her. In that moment, Lexra knew she had just taken the first step into a complex new world, one that could change her life forever. Chapter 2: Unforeseen Bonds. Lexra and Jake sat at the cafe, plates piled high with an array of colorful dishes she had never seen before. She cautiously picked up a fork and speared a piece of something fried and golden. Jake watched with a teasing grin. "You look like you're about to defuse a bomb. Not eat lunch," Jake said, laughter lacing his voice. Lexra gave a small laugh as she poked at the food, then slowly took a bite. The flavors exploded in her mouth, a mixture of spices and textures that was both startling and delightful. "This is actually quite good. See? Nothing to be afraid of," he said, his own fork diving into a hefty sandwich. "Just relax, it's food. What do you usually eat in Zephyrian space?" "Mostly nutrient packs and synthesized meals," she replied, savoring another bite. "Food is not an experience, more of a necessity. I can see the value in your cuisine." "Now you're making me feel guilty about my cheeseburger," Jake quipped, gesturing dramatically as if defending his choice. "I appreciate the creativity," she countered, smiling. "But I still have questions. What drives you to build those machines?" He leaned back, his eyes reflecting his passion. "Building things is like breathing for me. I love figuring out how to make them work. Creating something that people can use to make their lives easier is incredibly rewarding. Do you not fear failure?" Lexra probed, genuinely curious. "Of course, but it's part of the process. Every great invention started as a mistake. We learn from it," Jake said confidently. "What about you? Isn't that why you're here?" Lexra hesitated momentarily. "I came to analyze," she admitted. "But your perspective is surprisingly freeing. It allows room for exploration rather than just observation." "Exactly," he encouraged. "Look, if you're open to it, I'll take you on a tour of my workshop later. Show you how we iterate on designs and inspire creativity." "Your workshop? I'd love that," Lexra replied, her heart fluttering at the idea. "So, what do you do back where you're from? Just study humans?" Jake asked, a teasing sparkle in his eye. "No," she corrected, "I do much more than that. My people study different species to learn how to coexist." "Coexist? Sounds serious," he remarked, raising an eyebrow. "Understanding diversity has value. Every civilization has something significant to contribute," Lexra explained. "Even the chaotic ones." "Ha! I see what you did there," Jake laughed, leaning in closer. "Chaotic or not, we humans have heart. We adapt, we create, and we share experiences." "I've noticed that," she replied, reflecting. "You have an unexpected strength." Jake shifted slightly. "You think so?" "Yes," she affirmed. "You are passionate, and it is admirable." "That's a nice compliment," he said, scratching the back of his neck sheepishly. "So, what's your greatest ambition? What do you want to achieve with all this study?" Lexra considered his question seriously. "I want to understand humanity on a deeper level. Their creativity, their emotions, the very essence of being human." He nodded, leaning forward. "Maybe that's the missing link, understanding emotions. It's such a complex aspect of our existence. You're in for quite an adventure if you plan to do that." "Adventure indeed," she said softly, locking eyes with him. For a fleeting moment, it felt as if the world around them faded away. Just then, a loud crash broke their connection. A group of rowdy teenagers stumbled in, bumping into tables and giggling. Jake rolled his eyes. "This place is a magnet for chaos. Let's get out of here before we become part of it." Laughing, Lexra followed him outside where the sun was shining brightly. "Your chaotic youth seems rather lively," she said as they walked. "Yeah, it can often be too much," Jake replied, shrugging. "But it's also fun to be spontaneous." They strolled down a main road lined with shops and bustling visitors. Lexra marveled at how full of life everything was. "You certainly have energy, but how do you channel it?" Jake pointed to a street musician playing a lively tune on an acoustic guitar nearby. That's how we express ourselves. Music is a way to connect emotions and creativity, a universal language. Fascinating, she mused. Do you play? Not as well as he does, but I can strum a few chords, he said modestly. Maybe I should give it a shot. Perhaps it would take your inventions to a new level, Lexera teased. Ha! A musical engineer. Now there's a thought, Jake said, laughing. But honestly, the folks I admire are the ones who blend art with engineering. They create experiences. An idea formed in Lexera's mind. What if we collaborated on something? I could provide insights from my studies while you focus on the engineering. We could create something uniquely expressive. The light in Jake's eyes brightened. That's a brilliant idea. Let's brainstorm at my workshop later. We can make something that embodies both humanity and Zephyrian insight. I can't wait, Lexera said enthusiastically, feeling the excitement twirl within her. As they reached the workshop, an old building filled with tools, prototypes, and creativity, Jake opened the door and gestured for Lexera to enter. Welcome to the chaos. She stepped inside and immediately felt at home. Workbenches cluttered with gadgets, wires stretched in chaotic patterns, and blueprints covered the walls. This is incredible, Lexera exclaimed, excitement bubbling. Let me show you around, Jake said, guiding her through the space. He pointed out various projects, patiently explaining each one. Lexera hung on his every word, captivated not just by his inventions but by his passion. You have a real knack for this, she said, walking alongside him. Each design reflects a unique thought process. Thanks. If you think this is cool, wait until you see my latest project, Jake replied, grinning widely. He led her to a corner where a complex creation stood, a hybrid device combining concepts of transportation and robotics. It shimmered with potential. Wow. What does it do? Lexera asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. It's meant for personal mobility, something that can adapt to the user's needs. We haven't tested it thoroughly yet, but his voice trailed off and he looked at her, a playful glint in his eyes. Maybe we can give it a test run? Lexera chuckled nervously. You mean I would ride that? Hey, you said you were open to new experiences. Jake nudged her playfully, the challenge hanging in the air between them. With a deep breath, she nodded. Let's do it. As he prepped the device, Lexera sensed the thrill of possibility in every moment. The feeling was new and exhilarating, her admiration for Jake deepening with each shared laugh and glance. They were stepping into uncharted territory, not just in the sense of invention, but in something distinctly personal. All right, climb aboard, Jake called, smirking. Minutes later, with heart racing, Lexera found herself seated on the device beside Jake, who was adjusting the controls. Hold on tight, he said, his excitement palpable. With a deep breath, Lexera gripped the handles. As the device whirred to life, they shot forward, laughter echoing amidst the mixture of surprise and exhilaration. Together, they navigated through the uncertainty, and in that moment, all protocol faded. It was just them, two adventurers exploring the exhilarating possibilities ahead. Chapter 3. The moment of truth. The early evening sun bathed the workshop in a warm glow, casting long shadows across the chaotic expanse of inventions. Lexera sat regaining her breath after the exhilarating ride. Her heart raced not just from the speed but from the thrill of being so close to Jake. Okay, I admit it, she said, a joyous grin spreading across her face. That was incredible. How do you come up with these ideas? Jake wiped a bead of sweat from his brow, still riding the high of their escapade. Honestly, it just comes to me. I see a problem and my brain starts inventing solutions. You'll find that it's the same for you too. You just have to trust your instincts. I appreciate the encouragement, but my instincts are more academic, Lexera replied, crossing her arms playfully. Academia has its place, but sometimes you just need to dive in, he urged, pacing excitedly next to a table littered with components. Think about how you approached that first ride. You took a chance. That's what creativity is all about. Maybe we could combine that creative energy with a structured approach, she suggested, her thoughts whirling. Now you're talking. Let's brainstorm a collaborative project. I want to create something inspired by human experiences, driven by your insights. Lexera's heart skipped. What did you have in mind? He paused and his chin thoughtfully. How about a device that helps with emotional expression? Something that combines technology and art to better communicate feelings. That could be powerful, she said, visibly intrigued. So people could convey what they're feeling through a tangible medium? Exactly. Imagine using colors, sounds, or visuals based on emotional states. His enthusiasm was infectious and Lexera felt an excitement bubbling inside her. Jake leaned toward her. What would you want it to do specifically? Is there a human emotion that fascinates you? Fear, Lexra replied without hesitation. It's such a complex emotion. Humans experience it in unique ways. Fear, huh? That's a heavy topic, Jake mused, running a hand through his hair. But it's definitely relatable. We all deal with fear. Let's explore how we can bring that to life. They set to work, Jake sketching designs while Lexra jotted down notes. Hours flew by in a delightful collaboration, their ideas flowed seamlessly, thoughts complementing one another. What if we created a light scale that changes colors based on the fear level? Jake suggested, enthusiastic. Bright red for high fear, calming blue for low, Lexra added, her eyes lighting up. The device could vibrate gently to provide reassurance, a reminder that they're not alone. Yes. Jake's voice rose with excitement. And we could integrate audio cues, calming sounds that sync with the colors. Like soothing wind or soft chimes, Lexra chimed in, feeling exhilarated by their shared vision. That could create a comforting atmosphere. They spent the next hour mapping out their ideas, sketching concepts, and sharing thoughts on materials. Lexra watched Jake work with an ease that made her admire him more with each passing moment. Was that too much? Jake asked after a lengthy discussion about the sound elements, noticing her quiet contemplation. Not at all, Lexra replied, shaking her head. I was just thinking about how we can bridge our worlds. Perhaps incorporating something Zephyrian would enhance the concept. Good call. What have you got in mind? Jake asked eagerly. Maybe we could use bioluminescent materials? She suggested, her eyes brightening. They could provide an organic feel, enhancing emotional connection. Brilliant. That'll give the device a unique twist. You really know what you're talking about, Jake said admiringly. Lexra felt her cheeks flush. Thank you, but this is a team effort. Agreed. But your input is invaluable, Jake smiled, leaning in closer. What do you think about testing some of our concepts? Lexra's heart raced. You mean, right now? We don't have a prototype yet. That's what makes this even more exciting. Let's act as if we're doing it already. How would you respond if someone expressed fear to you? Maybe we can simulate it. All right, let's do it, she replied, more eager than she anticipated. They positioned themselves behind a makeshift table, pretending to create their device from scratch. Jake began to enact a scenario where he illustrated a person facing fear. He set a dramatic tone, his expressions passionate. Imagine someone getting up to speak in front of a crowd, Jake started, his hands gesturing grandly. They can feel the sweat dripping down, their heart pounding. They're terrified. Lexra nodded, caught up in his performance. And the sensations are overwhelming. The room seems to close in and they can't catch their breath. Exactly. He clenched his fists, his intensity genuine. But what if that person had a device that calmed them? Just the touch of it to center their focus. Then they could create a space where their fear transforms into empowerment. Lexra finished, her mind in overdrive. Jake paused, a spark in his eyes. Empowerment is a powerful concept. If we could help people shift their perspective, that's all the more reason to push forward. Lexra's heart swelled with eagerness. Let's make that happen. They held an informal brainstorming session, tossing around names for their creation. What about Elysium Wave? It sounds like a refuge, Jake suggested. Or chroma care, a blend of colors and care? Lexra countered. Jake chuckled. I like that. It encapsulates what we're trying to achieve, emotional care through color. Let's combine them, Lexra proposed playfully. Chroma Wave could resonate well. Chroma Wave it is. Jake agreed, grinning wide. Feeling a rush of excitement, Lexra felt the energy between them grow. They both seemed to realize that they were not just collaborators but two souls drawn together by shared passions and visions. Let's put our ideas down in a comprehensive plan, Jake suggested. Par for the course, they would sometimes miscommunicate, leading to light-hearted banter. Not that way? Lexra laughed as Jake turned the design upside down. You'll make it dizzy. I'll take that as a constructive criticism, Jake replied, a grin spreading across his face, his eyes twinkling. Before long, they lost track of time, engrossed in their creation. The chemistry between them sizzled, each interaction filled with playful challenge and encouragement. As the hour turned into night, a comfortable silence enveloped them, punctuated only by soft chatter and playful jabs. You know, Lexra began, breaking the quiet, I never expected any of this, collaborating with someone like you, for instance. It's unexpected but invigorating. Jake looked at her, his expression serious for a moment. I get that. You've pushed me creatively too. There's something special about this connection we have. Lexra's breath caught in her throat. Do you really think that? I do. It's refreshing, he said softly. Let's keep exploring this together. As they shared a moment of understanding, an electric tension hung in the air, an unspoken acknowledgement of the bond forming between them. Together, she echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. Together. Jake reached out, brushing his fingers against hers. For a heartbeat suspended in time, Lexera felt a spark ignite between them. In the glow of the workshop, potential stretched endlessly before them, intertwining their ambitions, dreams, and desires into something extraordinary. They were doing more than creating a device. They were crafting an experience that would unite their two worlds and, perhaps, their hearts. Chapter 4, A Tenuous Understanding. The next day, excitement buzzed in the air as Lexera and Jake arrived at the workshop, both brimming with newfound energy. They had decided to spend the day finalizing their concept for ChromaWave and create a prototype. All right, what's the plan? Jake asked, already pulling tools and materials from their various spots. Lexera laid out several pages filled with their sketches and notes. We need to establish how we'll integrate the emotional elements into the design. The color scales and sound features should work in tandem. Good call. How about we start with the core concept? Jake suggested. The device needs user input to gauge emotions, right? We should figure out how to measure that. Lexera smiled, impressed by Jake's eagerness. Certainly. We could use sensors that monitor heart rate and perhaps something to analyze vocal tone. Those would be good indicators of emotional states. Great thinking. I'll begin setting up a basic framework for the sensors, he said, rolling up his sleeves. As Jake got to work on the electronics, Lexera busied herself sketching out the shape of the device. It should be comfortable for users, something they can wear or carry, she said thoughtfully. Something sleek, yet functional. Jake paused, looking at her with a grin. You should be the designer. I'm better at making things work than making them pretty. Then let's collaborate. You create the insides, I'll work on the outside, Lexera said with a smile. What about a small, handheld device that's sleek enough to fit in a pocket? Sounds good. I can work on making it portable. But the design has to reflect its purpose, you know? Jake replied, his brow furrowing with concentration. It shouldn't look intimidating. I agree. Maybe something organic, rounded edges? Lexera suggested. Different colors that reflect its function. I like that. It gives it a friendly feel, Jake said. Let's brainstorm some color combinations while I set up those sensors. As Jake built the base of the device, they exchanged ideas about colors. Each time Lexera threw out a suggestion, Jake would conjure up an illustrative description, painting vivid images with words. What about a calming shade of blue for low fear levels? Lexera proposed, looking at him expectantly. Absolutely. And then maybe shift to light purple for a sense of safety. He jumped in, excited. That can transition into bright yellow when they feel empowered. By the time they had settled on a range of colors, they were laughing and joking as if they'd known each other for years. The camaraderie both thrilled and surprised Lexera. There's something energizing about creating together, she remarked, folding her arms over the workstation. Her gaze fixed on him. Jake looked up, the moment stretching between them. It's awesome. I never expected to vibe with a researcher so well. Me either. But I'm glad this is happening. Lexera confessed, her voice softening. I've learned more in these past few days than I have in months. A silence hung in the air as they locked eyes. Lexera felt her heart race. There was an unspoken connection deepening between them. Let's not overthink it, Jake said, breaking the tension as he reached for a small drill. We've got a lot of work to do. Lexera chuckled, relieved. Right? Let's focus on making ChromaWave a reality. They dove back into their work, each contributing to their prototype with fervor. As time danced away, they laughed, argued over minor elements, and cheered each other on, their connection becoming tangible. Around midday, they decided to take a break, heading outside for fresh air. Lexera leaned against the wall of the workshop, watching as Jake cracked open a soda can. Want one? He asked, offering her a second can. Sure, thanks, she said, gratefully accepting it. As they stood under the sun, sipping drinks, Lexera glanced around at the surroundings. You know, this place might seem chaotic to some, but to me it feels alive. Full of possibility. Jake turned to her, his expression contemplative. Yeah, it's buzzing with creativity. But it's different for you, isn't it? In Zephyrian space, what's it like? It's structured, calculated, predictable, she admitted, looking out over the distance. Learning about Earth has introduced a kind of beauty I didn't expect. Sounds like you're ready for a revolution then. Jake teased, nudging her. Maybe. Lexra replied, a smile creeping onto her face. But there's a lot to learn about the unpredictability of human emotions. That's my goal here. Speaking of emotions, Jake said slowly, gauging her reaction, how have yours changed since we started working together? Lexra paused, caught off guard. I didn't expect to feel such connection. You put me at ease, Jake. He looked at her intently, his expression growing earnest. You know, it's mutual. Working with you has inspired me more than I anticipated. Lexra felt warmth flush her cheeks. Thank you. I'm glad my presence has had a positive effect. I think we make a great team. If this device could reflect the dynamic we share, it could really help people navigate their emotions, Jake said, a sparkle in his eyes. Yes. If we can translate what we've created into a tool for others, that would be meaningful, Lexra said, feeling invigorated by the thought. They fell silent, savoring the moment as the sun continued its descent. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. A warm breeze swept through the air, brushing against her skin. Jake turned to her, his gaze serious. There's something I've wanted to ask. What is it? Lexra's heartbeat quickened, uncertain. You're only here temporarily. What will happen when you go back? What will happen to us? He queried cautiously. Lexra's breath caught. She had thought about this during their late-night brainstorming sessions. I'm not sure, she began, her voice quieter. I'd like to keep in touch. This experience has changed something in me. Maybe it's not about distance, Jake replied, stepping closer. We could continue collaborating, even from afar. Technology makes it possible, right? Absolutely. I'd like that. Your enthusiasm brings a sense of purpose, Lexra said, a mixture of fear and hope swirling inside her. I'm glad to hear it. You've opened my eyes to so much more, Jake said, his tone earnest. I feel the same, she replied softly, their gazes locking once more. I've never connected with someone on this level before. As they stood on the threshold of understanding, Lexra considered how her life had broadened by working with Jake. What had begun as a simple assignment had blossomed into a thrilling adventure, and yet she struggled with the reality of her departure looming ahead. Let's make the most out of our time, Jake said finally, breaking the silence. We've got a project to finish. Lexra smiled, relieved by the shift. Let's do this. Together. They headed back into the workshop, fueled by a newfound determination. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow through the windows, illuminating their progress. Together, they continued building ChromaWave, fueled not just by ideas but by the bond they were forming, a connection that transcended their initial intentions. As they worked side by side, Lexra couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, not only for their device but for everything that lay ahead. Even if they were from different worlds, something very real was taking shape, and she was willing to explore it every step of the way. Chapter 5, The Choice. The morning sun streamed through the workshop windows, casting warm rays over the cluttered tables and half-finished prototypes. Lexra arrived with a renewed sense of purpose, her notebook filled to the brim with ideas for ChromaWave. Excitement surged as she considered how their project was blossoming, much like her unexpected bond with Jake. Hey there, early bird. Jake greeted, bustling around the workspace. His energy was infectious, his hands busy assembling various components. Good morning. Lexra replied, her heart fluttering slightly at the sight of him immersed in his work. I've been thinking a lot about our project. I have some ideas to enhance its emotional interface. Let's hear them. Jake exclaimed, lifting his head with interest. I'm all ears. She approached the table, flipping through her notes. What if we added a journaling feature? Users could document their feelings and the device would analyze these entries over time to provide personalized feedback. Great idea. That would give it depth. Users could track their emotional journey, Jake said, nodding eagerly. And with patterns, we can encourage them to express themselves more constructively. Exactly. They could also visualize their journey through color changes and sound. It might help them understand transitions better, Lexra continued, her enthusiasm growing. Visualizing emotions. I love it. This is going to be amazing. Jake grinned, the excitement palpable. As they brainstormed, Lexra felt a warmth of connection. It was clear they were building ChromaWave together. But another thought tugged relentlessly at her impending departure. The uncertainty loomed larger with each collaborative moment spent with Jake. Trying to push it aside, she allowed herself to revel in their current synergy. So, what's the next step? She asked, looking at him with determination. Let's create a prototype of the journaling interface, he suggested, grabbing a tablet. I'll work on the coding while you finalize the device's layout. Deal, Lexura replied, her pulse quickening as they dived into their tasks. They worked side by side, discussions flowing naturally. Time melted away, filled with laughter and focused energy. Occasionally, their hands brushed as they reached for tools, sending a thrill through Lexura each time. All right, Jake said, stepping back to review their progress after a couple of hours. This looks good. Now we need to work on integrating these features. Agreed. I think the toughest part will be figuring out how to personalize the emotional responses, Lexura said, biting her lip in concentration. That's true, but we'll figure it out. We always do. Jake reassured her, grinning. Lexura felt buoyed by his optimism. For a fleeting moment, all worries faded away. Right? Let's get to it. They settled into a rhythm focused intensely on their project. As the afternoon wore on, the workshop filled with tools, notes, and a shared vision. Just then, Jake stopped, pulling back to look at her. Hey, can I ask you something serious? Of course, Lexura replied, her heart racing a bit. Jake hesitated for a moment, picking at a random wire on the table. What's your plan when you finish your research here? Lexura felt her stomach drop. I'm not certain yet, she admitted. I came to Earth for insights. But this experience with you, it's changed things. It's changed things for me too, Jake said gently, stepping closer. I haven't felt this way about anyone before. His honesty sent her heart soaring. I feel it too. But what happens next? I have to report back. My duties and expectations. They don't just vanish. You don't have to decide everything right now, he reassured her. But I want to keep our connection alive. I really enjoy spending time with you, and not just because of Chromawave. Lexura looked up, the weight of his words resonating deeply within her. I didn't expect any of this to develop. I've built walls to keep emotions out, and you brought them tumbling down. He finished softly, his gaze unwavering. Exactly. And now I'm not sure how to navigate what's happening between us. Lexura confessed, her voice almost a whisper. Let's take it one step at a time, Jake suggested, his expression earnest. Focus on the project first. The rest will come as we figure it out. I'm not sure how she began feeling vulnerable. I came here for knowledge, but I didn't anticipate feelings getting involved. This wasn't part of the plan. Maybe it's time to reevaluate the plan, Jake countered, his tone playful yet sincere. That's the beauty of creativity and human experiences. They evolve. Lexura smiled, a mixture of hope and fear swirling within her. Maybe you're right. I can think of this as an exploration, something to embrace. That's the spirit. Jake cheered, his eyes lighting up. You've already taken risks. Let's continue to do that with our project and with us. Lexura took a deep breath, feeling a sense of clarity wash over her. Okay then. I want to embrace this. But I also worry about how I'll maintain the connection when I leave. Let's find ways to bridge the distance, Jake suggested, his expression turning serious. We can video call, share our progress on Chromawave, and plan trips. My world can open up to you. I'd love that. Exploring your world with you. Lexura paused, excitement bubbling. It's possible. Their conversation shifted the atmosphere, both feeling lighter as they opted to focus on their project. They resumed working, but their energy felt renewed in ways Lexura hadn't anticipated. As the afternoon dwindled and they approached the final touches of the prototype, Jake leaned back to observe. We've accomplished a lot. This is going to help so many people. I believe so, Lexura agreed, her heart racing at the thought of their creation making a difference. Let's do a demo tonight, Jake suggested, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. We can invite a few friends and showcase Chromawave. Show them what we can accomplish together. Tonight? Lexura echoed, her surprise evident. Why not? It'll be fun and we need to celebrate halfway through this project, he said. All right. Let's invite a few people, Lexura replied, the excitement bubbling within her. It'll be interesting to hear their takes. As they finished setting up, Lexura felt invigorated. The idea of sharing their creation with others made her feel alive, fueling the fire for what they were building together. That evening, after sending out invites to friends and colleagues, they prepared for the presentation. Lexura looked in the mirror, smoothing her hair and adjusting her outfit. You're going to be amazing, Jake called from the other room, oblivious to her nerves. You think so? She asked, stepping into the main work area. Absolutely. You've done so much. Just be yourself and show everyone how passionate you are about this project. Lexura sighed, grateful for his belief in her. Thank you for your support, Jake. It means the world. As the doorbell rang, Jake dashed to answer it, welcoming their friends into the workshop. Lexura's heart raced as people began to gather, murmurs of anticipation rising. All right, everyone, Jake announced, drawing the crowd's attention. We're thrilled to introduce you to our project, ChromaWave, a groundbreaking device meant to help navigate emotions through color and sound. As they began the demonstration, Lexura felt the nerves ease. Jake introduced her, and she shared her insights into the emotional impact they envisioned. The audience responded with enthusiasm, asking questions and providing feedback. Laughter filled the air as Jake and Lexura fed off each other's energy, showcasing the prototype. With each passing moment, they grew more confident in their creation and in each other. As the significance of their work and the connection between them blossomed, Lexura marveled at how far they had come, both together and as individuals. In this moment, she resolved to embrace whatever lay ahead, cherishing the journey they had embarked upon. Together, they were crafting not just a device but a bridge between their worlds, a real connection that would last, no matter the challenges that might arise.